hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Tuxedo Union Free School District on this Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, I agree.
Now we will call roll.
Heather Kidda,
Present.
Alyssa Horna,
Present.
Kimberly Breland,
Present.
Dan Castropone,
Present.
William Clark, Bill Gibbons,
Present.
Gary Hefner,
Present.
a quorum is present.
Okay. We will now move into the public comment section of the meeting. If any members of the public have any questions or comments, please raise your hand. Wait to be called on by the,
Approval of minutes.
sorry. Apologies. May I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the December 20th, 2023 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, now we will move into the public comment section. If any members of the public have any questions or comments, please raise your hand, wait to be called on by the board president, and then state your name. Okay. Moving on. We will be moving on to number 2.2, community input on the 2024 to 2025 budget development. Jeff?
So we just wanted to provide an opportunity for anybody in the public to speak about any concerns they have, they want us to consider when developing the budget for next year. So we're going to be doing that over the next couple of meetings, and if anyone has anything they want to talk about to the board, this is the opportunity to do that.
Can you find out if, from our political liaisons, if Albany's new decisions, if they're going to affect the tax cap?
Yes, we'll do.
Like, are they, you know, because I just thought of that now, so hate to surprise you with that, but it just dawned on me, like,
So
tax
we'll
cap
call
could
this,
be a large issue
so we'll
with
call
that
this
new
the
information.
community and board input, which is good input. Thank you, sir. And yes, I definitely will do that. It's a good thought. And I know they've been talking about, you know, doing certain things with the tax cap because this is the second year of the CPI being much higher than the actual, what the tax cap allows. So yeah, we'll get that information. Thanks, Gary. So anybody from the public want to speak about the budget?
Okay, so we'll move on to the school food service program presentation.
Yes, we implemented this program in December, and we were hoping to have the presentation then, but Ms. Metzak had been ill, and so it's going to be now in January, and we've got the team, Marianne Metzak, who's our consultant, school food service director, and Chef Anthony, and where's Joanne hiding in the back there, huh? You don't want to come up and join? She's eating, okay.
She's also honorary Chef Joanne.
She's testing the food. Quality control.
Yeah, so thanks for having me again. So basically, I just put together, you know, a nice summary of what CEP is, and then the impact that it's going to have on the school district now. So it's a 4-year program, so it's going to be nice. You know, this is going to be the first year, so we'll dive into it as we start moving forward. Do I have a clicker? Okay.
It's a 4-year plan, meaning that adjustments could be made during the
If your
cycles
numbers
of different
improve, you
things?
can always put another application in so that you can improve the percentages that you're getting paid out as. But once you're locked in, you're guaranteed for the 4 years, which is really nice.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So it's community eligibility provision. So it's a provision program that's offered by the USDA. It's just a different type of meal service. So we still are the National School Breakfast Program, the National School Lunch Program. It's just a provisional food service option basically for reimbursement. So it is meant to service schools that are the lowest income areas that they, basically that's the term they used to call it. But now that they've changed those guidelines, it's, they might want to update a little bit of what they refer to it as because, the percentages are much different now, which we'll get into. So it is, meant to provide meal assistance. So any schools that qualify, it's basically a poverty level. That's a percentage, and they're the ones that are going to qualify so that you no longer need to collect those household applications to be free or reduced.
And can I ask you, is this the same thing that they're talking about in Congress right now of feeding children during the summer?
No. So the food service program that's offered in the summer is actually completely separate. And it's interesting. There's two different aspects with summer. One of them is schools that do qualify based on poverty level. It's like an at-risk population. It's just a different terminology. But those meals are offered for free, but not all school districts are eligible for them. So that's where the talk is now of, why are we having this split in the summer? We know kids have zero access to food in the summer. So
Right.
it's just,
Okay.
it makes sense. But summer's a little bit different of what they're looking into right now. And that's, I think the stuff that's actually coming out right now is more of the PEBT benefits. So those meal cards that the state was offering the past several years, they're going to be extending benefits for the summer. So
Okay.
that's a piece of it as well.
Okay.
All right, next. So this is why the program was updated right now, and this is what's made it viable for your school district. So at the federal level, that's the level that sets what that limitation is with the percentage of how you qualify. So it finally was pushed through Congress, and it was just adopted basically at the end of September. So the identified student percentage is what it's all based on. So your students that qualify as directly certified. So those who fill out an application that qualify free or reduced is not calculated into this number at all. So as somebody who's been doing this for a while, I never understood that. If you qualify based on income, it just seems a little wild that those numbers don't count, but it's really just based on what are those programs out there that service poverty levels. So that's where the base of it comes through. And I'll get into a little more detail of exactly what those terminologies cover. But the percentage previously was 40%. So when you think of it, if that's your poverty level, previously the district had to be at 40%. That, it's almost half of your district being considered at a poverty level for you to get free meals. That's massive. So even when you think of it now, a quarter of the students, so going down to 25%, that's still a massive population of your students if they qualify for these programs. So
when they question a district, are they talking about the district and all the voters that live in the district, or are they just talking about the students that attend this school that live within the district?
It's anyone who's enrolled in your district. So if
Okay.
they're going to like a BOCES program or something outside, they do not count into those numbers.
Oh,
Yeah, it's only who's physically enrolled in your buildings.
Okay.
Yeah. So that limits the data as well. When I've done this for other school districts, there's times where I've seen, school districts of like several thousand kids where 1,000 to 2,000 kids weren't even considered in that. And when you think of it, a lot of them are going to special education programs and they're receiving Medicaid and other ones that would qualify for them. So it's a big missing population for the calculations. But it was the federal action that really made this possible now for more districts. Then what we're lucky as being in New York State with this process is the action that the state took. So not all states are giving an extra subsidy for that population. So I'll get through the calculations in the next slide, but basically once you calculate that ISP, it's split out how many students you get reimbursed at the free rate, which is a much higher rate, versus the paid rate, which is pennies, much smaller. When that splits, if you're looking at only qualifying at 25% or 30%, that split is going to be very difficult to maintain a budget. So you're not going to be getting enough funding for it to make any sense. And you would want to maintain a normal food service program because you're not going to have viable source of income. With New York State, they added the extra subsidy. So they're actually making up the difference of what the federal reimbursement is not going to cover. So that's what really made this more viable for everyone in New York State if you're qualifying at a lower percentage. So that was only pushed through basically like mid-October, towards the end of October. And then the window that they put out was to apply before December 15th. So it is a very big kind of data collection process. So some people may have, in the past, if they were on the fence, they probably already had run their data and had been looking at it. But if you were nowhere near 40%, you would have really had no reason to kind of look at it and preemptively pull all that data, because it really is a lot of, you have to certify every individual child to make sure that they're in those programs and qualify. So it was a quick turnaround time to have to get all the data back to New York State. And then it's a two-step application process as well. So we did get the application within November and were approved to start in December, which was nice. And they didn't allow any mid-month approval. So if you approved within a month, you had to wait until the next month to start. So I'm not sure why they had to do a process like that, because it really is just all a claiming system, but that's just the way it was set up. So that's how we fit into this. So because of that window of opportunity that the state was subsidizing, it does make sense for everyone within this state who qualifies to go for it, because you're going to pretty much be fully funded. Next. So this is more of the details of that. So that identified student percentage, they just refer to it as the ISP. So it's kind of like the acronym that gets thrown around with this. So of the students that qualify for these, it's anyone who has the SNAP benefits, and they match through like a state level matching process. Medicaid recipients also go through that matching process. That's data that we're able to just pull from a New York State website, which is nice, but not everyone's on it. So then you also have to look at if you have any homeless children, if you have people in Head Start, any migrants or runaways, and then also foster children are automatically certified as well. So then when you're looking at those are the only students that qualify this, plus anyone who has had that benefit extended through a household. So that's really what helped your district, was qualifying through households. So as I went through the data, on the initial snapshot, the data was difficult to pull because the old food service system was really antiquated and it didn't store always. It might have said somebody was directly certified, but it didn't give a reason why. So that data is also not historical through New York State. So I had to do a lot of digging through multiple layers of like old documents to find those kids and figure out which programs they were under, because I have to say they're a SNAP or a Medicaid. I can't just generalize that they were certified. So that was a big piece of it. But then I also took a look at all of your addresses. So I even sorted it down and said, hey, there's a lot of different families that live within these addresses. Let's look deeper into those households, and found that they were living in households and was able to extend benefits to other students within those addresses. So they do not have to be related. It's just anyone who lives in the same household. So that was the saving grace here, because it pulled enough.
So what, like, that could be foster kids or cousins or
Yep.
anybody else who's living within
Yep.
that household?
Yeah.
Or
I mean, even if, say a neighbor, suddenly became homeless and moved in with another neighbor. If one of the students in that house qualified, now everyone who lives in that house qualifies.
Okay.
So that was really one of the things with the deep dive that helped me be able to identify a few extra students that got us to the 25%, which was really awesome. I was going gray that week.
25.6.
Yes, 25.6. And then it had to do also with dates. So normally when you apply for CEP, you utilize whomever is enrolled on April 1st of that school year. Because this was kind of a mid-year allowance with the applications, you could either choose your April 1st data, or they allowed you to choose October 6th. October 6th was very beneficial because any kids who have qualified for the current school year through direct certification, if those numbers went up, they counted. But then anyone who was from the previous school year, it was still in the carryover period where you don't have to remove their status yet. So it was a balance of kind of looking at 2 years of data to kind of merge it all together. And 25.6. So, I was kind of doing a happy dance when I finally got the data, and I was super excited for all you guys. But then that's when you look at that multiplier. So now, because it really is the lowest of the threshold, if there was not that extra state subsidy, you would only be getting 40.9, almost 41% reimbursed at the free rate, and the other 60 at the paid rate, which is nothing compared to what you're actually spending on food cost. So it's really that state subsidy that's helping this process move along.
Is this process audited by the state? Like, is there a risk that they come in,
They
pick apart your
do
numbers
the
and
audit when
say-
you submit it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the audit's done and we're in. Okay.
Yes. So that was part of it. You have to have all the documents, and you have to submit everything to them before they say yes.
Okay. So my
So
follow-up
that-
question would have been, what happens if they knock you back?
Yeah,
We
and that
could
was
sue
kind of,
her.
and that's kind of the and that was kind of
I'm
the
sure that's not
nervousness
true.
too. I'm like, I have to have everything. They take it all at one time, which is actually helpful for a small school district because it's not quite as much data. I've done it for ones with thousands of kids, which is very exhausting. So now these are the actual rates of reimbursement for this school year. So I just kind of wanted to show the top part is just the standard counting and claiming. So if there was not that subsidy, you would only be getting $2.38 for 41% of your breakfast and $4.31 for the lunch. Then the other 60% of the meals that you would claim would just be 38 cents and 46 cents. So, I mean, it just, budget-wise, it does not work out for people without that state subsidy. And then the full graph at the bottom is the state picking up the rest of the funding. So that full free funding amount is what you're going to be getting moving forward. These are just some of the general benefits. So obviously, free breakfast and lunch, which is massive for the families and for the students. The unpaid meal charges. So that's this beast that has come out over the last several years with the anti-lunch shaming. You are not allowed to deny a student. If they come in and they don't have food, you have to feed them a full meal. So basically the school districts just put it on the tab. And then over those school years, if the families don't pay it, there's no recourse for schools. I've heard schools of having, $30,000, $40,000 in debt from their families not paying. You can't do anything about it. So, it just becomes a liability that gets written off. And within cafeteria funding, whatever debt there is at the end of the year that's acquired by the families actually has to be paid from the general fund. So it kind of becomes a community problem. So this is where this program really helps eliminate that whole issue and that whole stigma that comes with it. And then there's the stigma of food. That's just the world we've lived in. And, although the anti-shaming stuff was difficult in terms of funding and processes, it was for a reason. And when you see stories and you hear stories of what some school districts used to do and, oh, nope, taking your lunch tray away, you only get a sandwich because you don't have money. That stuff's crazy. But now it's, nobody has to worry about anything and everybody just has fun and can all sit down and eat lunch together. And last part is definitely paperwork. So all of these processes of what we do every year, collecting applications, reaching out to households, that's a part-time job in itself, just trying to get people to fill out those paperwork, catching up with families who still owed money. It's a major process that was taking a lot of people within the district to manage. So,
And I think the app was, I think a lot of people were always complaining or getting charges that they weren't sure what
yep.
was happening.
Yeah,
Things like
it's an annoying process. So at least now it's very streamlined, and especially with you're not paying for meals. So now when you go on and look, I can just see my kid is spending my money on snacks instead. So it's much easier. But from a standpoint, it reduces a lot of the paperwork from the business aspect, but also from the cafeteria aspect. So it really does lighten the load on everyone. So now these are specifically the data for your school district. So this is the participation of what the kids are eating, basically, how many kids. So the term ADP is really like the state level of what's always looked at of how many kids are eating on average per day. So the left side is breakfast, the right side is lunch. Light blue is GGM. So you can see at the beginning of the school year for breakfast, it was about 34, 38, 39, about 40, and now with this past month of starting, it's gone up to 53. And this is just the first month, so it's nice to see a great
That's
jump
brilliant.
right off the bat.
That's
But then
great.
it's only going to just keep going up as the kids are getting more comfortable and understanding that, oh wait, I can just take lunch. This is great. And families get more kind of comfortable with, some people just don't like their kids eating it somewhere else. But, the better we develop the menu and other stuff that comes with it, people just have a better trust level.
Is this number of students or percentage?
It's the actual number of meals. So then GFB is the green. So we're actually laughing about September's breakfast. I'm like, 7 kids were eating breakfast? That's it? So high school and middle school levels are always tough to get kids to eat breakfast, but even that is now up to almost 30 kids. So that's awesome. And at least we'll still keep developing some easier methods. They don't really want to go down to the basement in the morning and get breakfast. So we'll start looking at some easier methods to serve the older kids breakfast. And then the dark color is just the overall, so you can kind of see how those numbers were combined. So, you're already up to like 82 breakfasts. And then for the lunch participation, lunch was always a bit higher, but now you can see that GGM went from 60, almost 64 to 71. And the high school went from 48 to 61, but overall, I found the overall interesting. So it was like 111, 111, 114. So you can tell it was a very consistent population of kids that were getting lunch. And now you had that little jump, at least 20 extra meals already a day. So, it's nice to see that it popped up very quickly, but, we're hoping.
That's crazy.
boop,
I mean, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it is great. And it's interesting too, because I was the one who's been helping with the free and reduced applications in the background, because it's just paper processing. So it's something easy for me to help with. And there were actually people who were like, I don't need the free benefit. We just give it to somebody who needs it. And it's like, that's not the point. Like, you qualify for it. Everybody who qualifies gets it. So it's not like if you don't take that lunch, it's going to go to someone else, So this just removes all of that. Everybody just is able to go get those free meals. So it's really a nice process. And then next slide is the dollars. So this one I kind of broke down. So the total is the top, federal reimbursement is the middle, and state is the bottom. And then that's showing from month to month. So the state was very, very sad. It was only initially, it would barely even show the numbers because the bars were so small. So what was that first one? So $59 for breakfast the state contributed, and now it's up to $1,700. So it's great to see that shift. Federal was about $970, and now it's up to $1,500. So overall for breakfast, it went from $1,000 to over $3,000. So I mean, it's just significant how much more money.
So the state and federal thought that we were only going to cost like $200 a month, and now we're going to really.
Oh, yes. And then, I mean, lunch, I actually double checked a few times because I was blinking. I'm like, I've never seen a state reimbursement higher than a federal reimbursement. So same thing, it drastically increased where it was over $8,000 from lunch reimbursement. And the state actually contributed more. It was $4,600 versus $4,000 from the federal government. So, but the whole point, and a lot of states are enacting just free meals for everyone, and it's great in theory, but it's still state dollars. It's still tax dollars. So the whole point is, how is all of this balanced fiscally? And I think our state did come up with a good way to do it, because if you're qualifying it based on poverty, and it's not just every school district, you're not contributing that tax dollar back to a district who, the kids are driving, driving their Beamers to school. And, it's just, there's a point to it. So if you're only contributing those funds to the schools who truly need it, you're at least limiting that budget for the state and not inflating it to the point where it can't be managed. So
I'm just really glad that this program is happening, because it takes the stigma off of everything. But besides that, There's so many studies that are shown that when children are eating, especially breakfast in the morning, their scores go up this much more within, their education. So it just
I had
makes
thought
perfect
about
sense.
including some of that stuff in the data too, but I'm like, I don't want to just give you like too much random fluff. But I mean, that's the stuff,
Yeah.
especially as a dietitian, that's like insane to me. When you see how much sicknesses drop, attendance improves. I mean, I think it was like math scores specifically
Yeah,
were like
and
the
it's
highest impacted.
unbelievable.
I mean, it really is wild, but attendance is a huge factor for that. Because if you're looking at people who maybe don't have enough food at home, or they're not buying fresh fruits and vegetables where you're getting the phytonutrients that you need to help you fight sicknesses, there's a different impact on different populations. So it's, it just really neutralizes a lot of things.
And I think our students are very excited to be eating the meals here because of our menu changes. So it's just working out perfect.
Next. And then this I had actually drafted up for Mr. White a little while ago because he was like, I want to know, what is the impact on our families? It's one thing to say what's the impact on the school district, but this is the impact on the families. So based on what the previously paid rates were for GGM students in GFB, you're saving over $1,000 per kid. If you have 3 kids in the district and you are having them eat school meals, you're going to save $3,000 in your food budget for that school year. So, it's just, it's outstanding that at least the families are going to feel that kickback as well. And I think I might have one more. Actually, there's 2 more. So, just in summary, massive benefits to their students and your families, and now having a true secure source of funding here. I found a couple of your cute little kiddos online. And that's it. There's your team. Yeah. So any other questions?
Thank
I
you
tried to
very
pack
much.
it all in.
Thank you very much, this is
Quick
great.
question for you guys. You guys are developing the menu, obviously Chef Anthony, you definitely in
Yeah.
charge of the menu, but for breakfast as well?
Yes. So
okay.
this first month was kind of like oh my gosh, we just got to get breakfast out there
Right,
to
okay.
everyone because
All right.
now it really, as the numbers are going to increase, he's going to feel the impact of it. So it's ordering food. It's now making sure there's enough people to provide that food. The
And that's where
breakfast
the
process
balance is
here.
right now. We're trying to get a real feel for what's happening with our student increase. As that happens, we have to prepare more and build better menus based on that. The more money we have come in, the better we can prepare, and the more from scratch things we can do. And
Especially
that's where we're looking to go.
the stability of the whole thing.
Yes.
Fair enough, good, okay.
Yeah, and now is the time to get more feedback. We did the survey a little while ago, so, a lot of those kids have graduated. So, let's get some more feedback from the older kids, especially the little ones, because they're a little easier to serve breakfast right now, especially with the grab and go. So, you're kind of like, well, how come not all of the little kids are eating breakfast? So it is, let's figure out what are their favorite things. Sometimes it is the mom doesn't like the cereal. So, let's mix it up and see what other options are out there.
And that's the next step, is where we're gonna do some more in-depth conversations with the students.
Mhm.
That's my next goal, is to get into the classrooms, talk to the kids, find out what they like, what we can do to bring them to.
The healthy options for the morning,
Yes.
yes.
Well, and that's one of the things that's always driven me nuts as a dietitian. When you look at these, USDA standards that are put together, the only things that are required for breakfast are a grain, a fruit, and a milk. They don't even require you to serve protein. So, as a mom, I'm like, that's terrible. So, but now with better funding is where you can supplement those food options and offer different things.
Well, you could do something like build your own yogurt, like you go in and build your own sundae, and you could have yogurt and then have all these like little toppings that each kid could take a scoop of yogurt and then pick their toppings. And
That's
it'll be
actually a
fun.
really popular thing for lunches now, is like a build your own bar.
Yeah.
What we're doing with breakfast, and the way we were able to increase the percentage of people participating, was to actually serve in this building breakfast in a grab-and-go bag right at the front door. So as they come in, they're grabbing their bag, which has a fruit, has a juice, and it has a grain in it. So it makes it easier for them. It made it easier for them to take it coming in. They don't have to come downstairs because the younger kids had to be escorted down.
Yeah.
So now they're coming in the door, they're getting it. Now that more people are participating in that, we're getting a lot more feedback from the kids. They see me almost every morning. They're comfortable talking to me now, so it's really opened up a lot of dialogue with the little ones especially.
Yeah, we came over here earlier today and they were like, "Hi, Anthony!" They were like so excited. I was like, "That's great."
So that's the next part though, is to actually get that input and figure out how we're going to incorporate it into the daily list.
Yeah, and one of the things I was talking with Mr. White today is now, just kind of looking at the budget, because what was generally drafted for the cafeteria department is going to change a lot. So, Brian and I all sit down, we'll really start looking at the numbers and what the possibilities are, and, really trying to secure a very healthy budget.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, anybody, or?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so moving on, I'd like to introduce Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Jeff White, to present his administrator's report.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a great holiday season. We've just been back a couple weeks. We also had a snow day, a delay. So it's a number of people have been out ill, including a lot of the administrators, either them or their family members or both. So it's been an interesting start of the school year already. Our new principals are settling in nicely. Melissa, who's out ill, I believe, today, and Jared's back there. Hello, Jared. So things are going well. We have midterms and regents exams this January 22nd to the 29th. We'll be running a normal schedule, correct, Mr. Kamar? So that'll be going well. We've got the SEL program has been the ruler, the Yale rulers, the social emotional learning is going along nicely over at GGM. We are just in the process of starting our budget right now, and we did get some alarming news today from Albany. The foundation aid formula, which the state has wanted to right size to meet the lawsuit from the campaign from Fiscal Equity, and wanted to make the foundation aid formula run. They took away the hold harmless in the governor's proposed budget, and unfortunately, at this juncture, with the governor's proposed budget, that results in about a 27% reduction in state aid for the school. We just got these runs today, so we haven't had a chance to analyze them. I have been in touch with Senator Skoufis, who's going to do everything he can. We're hoping that this is just a negotiating point with the governor and that she's not going to stand on this, or that such a budget would not pass, but we might need the community support in getting out to our elected officials and making sure that this doesn't stand, because the district could not withstand such a reduction. We've been having set, meaning no increases in foundation aid as a result of the district's wealth ratio, but to actually eliminate it, especially in these times of high inflation, it's really unfair and something that is unsustainable for the school district. So we'll have more on that as we get into the budget season, which we're doing right now. Mr. Weir is busy preparing the budget and working with members of the staff to do that. So that's moving along nicely, but we'll be back in touch about this. I did get a call from Mrs. Susan Scher about the property at Old Forge Road. It appears that the folks that had filed that application for a school have pulled that application back. It's no longer going to be a K-12 type school. It's now going to be, I think, more of a college. So, but we will contact the planning board and the supervisor of Warwick and see if we can become an interested party at any rate. So, I believe that's what we have for right now. Oh, I did want to say that we are looking at a lot with all that's going on in the world. Thank you, Mary Ann. Safe home. With all that's going on in the world, it's really becoming more and more of a dangerous place. So we're looking to implement a lot more safety procedures, protocols, trainings, hardening of our facilities, and also, as you know, we've really touted the fact that we use shared services, professional services, and consultants to save the district money. and we don't have the budget to support a facility, a security director rather. But we do pay Orange Ulster BOCES for a health and safety COSER, and with that we get the expertise of Mr. Dwayne Lopez, who's with us this evening. Hello, Dwayne. And I wanted Dwayne to meet all of you because he is bringing a wealth of experience. He's been with the sheriff's office, and his expertise is in school safety. So he is going to be helping serve in a coordinator role here with us. We get him at least one day a week, and he's going to help us with our future security plans. So with that, was that 2 minutes or less, or? I went over. Okay. All right. Well, with that, I concede.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, now we will move on to our personnel consent agenda. Are there any items for discussion?
5-1.
Okay, great.
Why is there a blank one? There's a blank one?
Any other items for discussion? Okay. Mr. Castricons?
I just wanted to note, as 5-1 on our agenda, is the retirement of Ms. Audrey Coviello, who's been a huge part of the community for a very long time and a 23-year employee of the school. And I just wanted to express how appreciative I am, I know all my kids were, of having her around in the school, and we're going to miss her and wish her well.
Thank you. Okay, and so with that, do I have a motion to,
Just 5-3, is it an error, or is it just a title? There's a title for
Well,
Marco Michelle, but
5-1, it says 5-2 on my paper.
5-2 was Audrey, actually, right on my paper.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
5-3,
5-3 is,
The approval of athletic club advisors.
but there's no stipend. So what do we approve?
They're about,
So we have to approve, we're just approving volunteers. I wasn't sure if it was error,
no,
so
we
it's
have to.
title only, no stipend.
Yeah, I think they need to be appointed as advisors in order for them to actually spend any money or do anything, so.
The question is, should they be getting a stipend?
They're already athletic, they're getting stipends for all the different programs that they're running.
They're athletic director and assistant athletic directors that are already getting a stipend for that, but to be a club advisor, they need to be
It just-
appointed and approved, but there's no stipend added on.
I'm just presuming that if we're giving them titles, that means additional duties and time.
Well, we're keeping the budget down there, Gary, so,
We appreciate their volunteer.
There you
So
go.
that's what I'm pointing out. So they're taking on additional work
yeah,
with
That's right.
with no extra money.
correct.
Okay.
Kudos
Yep.
to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
okay, so with that, can I have a motion to approve the personnel
So
consent
moved.
agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So let's move on to the business consent agenda. Are there any items for discussion here? This includes all of the business office reports.
Motion to move.
Okay, so no items for discussion. Okay, so can I have a motion to
So
approve?
moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. So then we are through this. So may I have a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation, and for the relating to the information to current or future investigation or prosecution of a criminal offense which would imperil effective law enforcement if disclosed.
So moved.
Second.
All in
Either way.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are we
Aye.
expecting to take? grading those blue books.
Okay, can I have a motion to return from executive session?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, can I have a motion to add two walk-on resolutions?
So moved?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to read the first resolution. Be it resolved that the board hereby appoints Edward Merhoff to serve as a lead evaluator pursuant to the provisions of Education Law 3012-D to conduct those evaluations necessary for APPR ratings.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Second resolution, be it resolved that the board hereby authorizes its president to sign an employee-related agreement with employee number 1000 as presented to the board at this meeting. A copy of said agreement shall be incorporated by reference within the minutes of this meeting.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Move to adjourn?
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Trying to help there.
Bill.
All right, thank you.